simply must meet Thomas Jefferson.
Like every founding father, Thomas Jefferson left behind a legacy. Some could say he even left behind a bigger legacy than most. His tombstone could list so many more legacies than the three he chose, which were the Declaration of Independence, the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and the University of Virginia. To those three, he could have added Ambassador to France, First Secretary of State, Second Vice President, Third President, Louisiana Purchase, Architect of Monticello, Swivel Chair, Macaroni and Cheese, and being portrayed in Lin-Manuel Miranda's hit Broadway play Hamilton. Okay, possibly those last three aren't quite as important, but the point still remains that Thomas Jefferson left behind a legacy, and ultimately that legacy is a legacy of freedom. Thomas Jefferson's most enduring legacy of freedom chronologically would be the Declaration of Independence. He was not the only man on the committee chosen to compose the document. John Adams, Roger Sherman, Benjamin Franklin, and Robert Livingston were selected as well. These men then decided Jefferson would be the most ideal one to draft the Declaration, although Franklin and Adams made several changes, as the National Archives points out. Although Jefferson did not decide all on his own to declare independence from Britain, his powerful wording resonates even with us today. He stated for America that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Jefferson pointed out that corrupt government should be overthrown and listed the crimes of King George III against the colonies. He concluded the Declaration by reminding all those who signed that they were risking everything. Jefferson's legacy continues after the Declaration of Independence, although many would consider that his greatest work. And as much as I would like to say his second greatest is Macaroni and Cheese or the Swivel Chair, I would probably next focus on Jefferson's contributions to religious freedom. Thomas Jefferson not only composed the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, but he also composed a famous separation of church and state letter during his time as president. The Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, passed in 1786, removed any requirements for people to attend church in the state of Virginia and allowed people to believe whatever they wanted religiously. Many years later, during his presidency, Jefferson composed his famous Separation of Church and State Clause. In his letter to the Danbury Baptists, Jefferson confirms that the national government cannot declare an official religion. However, these two documents do not indicate that Jefferson was against religion. Jefferson actually worked on several bills in Virginia that would have promoted Christianity and submission to a biblical lifestyle, as Daniel L. Dreisbach points out in his article on Jefferson's views of church and state. Jefferson's personal beliefs may not have been normal. He did reject the Trinity. He saw Jesus more of a moral teacher, but actually Jefferson did realize that there was a God, as Roger Schultz and Travis McDonald point out in their interview for Liberty University, the lecture earlier in this class. But throughout his public political service, Jefferson maintained a front of Christianity and supported religious freedom for Americans. Thomas Jefferson leaves behind him freedom as his legacy. He even coincidentally died on the 4th of July. Thomas Jefferson's legacy becomes America for us, as Jan Lewis and Peter S. Onuff point out in their article on how Jefferson has been perceived. Jefferson believed in freedom. He negotiated the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled America's size. It allowed for Lewis and Clark's expedition. It led to Manifest Destiny. It led to a nation that stretched from sea to shining sea. Jefferson was president. That's a dream like instilled in every American child. You could be president one day. George Washington may be synonymous with America, but Thomas Jefferson, with his work with the Declaration of Independence and religious freedom, basically becomes synonymous with freedom. Although he does have some mistakes in some ways where he does not fully declare freedom with his life, he still becomes the one who is thought of as bringing independence to America, declaring it to the world that America is the land of freedom.
Legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. Let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? President Jefferson.